Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, vaccines save lives. Also, Democrats and Republicans lay out their agenda ahead of session. And a lieutenant governor candidate thinks the earth is flat. Really?
What am I thinking of? I almost forgot to bring extra plutonium. How do I ever expect to get back? One pellet, one trip. I must be out of my mind.
Barking mad is more like it. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Hey, y'all.
You know, we've had racist, we've had downright, just cornball folks, and we've had maybe one or two good people run for governor. Dean Odle, pastor from Opelika, ran for governor in the last term, got 12,000 votes. This time he's running for lieutenant governor, Josh. And the strange thing is he's published 2 books. So we got one of them over at APR. And it turns out that Dean Odle is a flat earther. He thinks that the earth is flat, not a sphere, as the ancient Greeks knew hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He thinks that demons live on the underside of the earth and their demonic powers is what keeps them in place. And he has a litany of conspiracy theories that would make one think that instead of the governor's mansion or in the office of lieutenant governor, he might be more suited for a place like Bedlam.
Yeah, man, it's, does it really surprise you? I mean, come on. Now, look at the people that we elect. I mean, would it really surprise you to learn that several of them are flat earthers? I mean, given just the absolute nonsense that they believe otherwise. I mean, it's just, honestly, it's the progression, the natural progression of things, I think, that we've gone from some of the stuff that they used to believe to now this. I mean, I suspect that there's probably a half dozen of these people roaming about in our legislature, making rules and laws for everybody to follow. And Dean just happens to want to seek the lieutenant governor spot. And listen, if the demons don't get him, more power to the man.
Susan, I don't know what to say.
I don't either. I mean, the conspiracies that he's come up with, from NASA to the Vatican, the Freemasons, the Nazis, all of this, the New World Order. This is all a conspiracy and a plot of Satan.
Yeah. Well, now the New World Order, they were talking about that back in the late 80s, early 90s. That was a big thing on religious television.
Yeah, it was Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. When Hogan joined up with them at that bash at the beach, man, that New World Order really took over professional wrestling. And I mean, you had the Wolf Pack, you had the whole thing going. I was a big fan. I was a big fan of that. For life, baby.
Now, see, I can understand why people might believe that wrestling is real. I do not understand how anyone in the 21st century could be so deluded to think that the earth is flat and that NASA staged all this stuff. But Susan, the thing that I think I see here, and it's a pattern of all conspiracies and all that, is these people think that they have special knowledge. He said he had a spiritual download. I don't know how you get a spiritual download because, I barely can get a download sometimes on the internet, but he got the whole spiritual download. But they think that they're special because they know stuff you don't know. And they have figured out the world and how it works, and the rest of us are just ignorant hillbillies.
Yeah, like meteors are angels.
Oh, that's right.
Don't forget about that. So that all of this science and all of our scientists and scientific research throughout the world, he knows better.
Yeah, and
That's the
Go ahead,
scary
Josh.
part.
I'll say one other thing about this, on the serious.
Yeah, okay.
About this is the problem with allowing religion to dictate political policy and allowing it into politics. Okay, because while we can all look at this and say, "Oh, that dude is out of his mind," other people believe that about your religion and your beliefs and what,
True.
because they don't conflate. And that's the reason why we have chosen to have that wall between church and state. Because if we start to govern that way, we head down these pathways that automatically exclude and ridicule and limit what other people believe and how they're treated. And that's why it's always the reasons we don't have bombs raining down on us all the time, like we do in some parts of the world, is because we've embraced that freedom of religion and kept it out of our politics. And if we stop it, we're headed down a dangerous path.
You're absolutely right. And I'm not meaning to make fun of Mr. Odell that much, maybe a little bit, but it's just like it just shows a pattern. And I want to move on to the next subject because this is really affecting this. Nearly 2/3 of Republicans do not trust the government with any health issues. They just don't trust the government. There's been statistics that say it's. I mean, these are statistics that go across the board. Now, more Democrats trust the government health, but these people don't even trust their own doctors either. They just don't have any faith in medical science anymore. And so what's happened is we get somebody like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that maybe run Health and Human Services, but the anti-vax thing has really caught on. We had 2 doctors that wrote a column for APR this week trying to remind people of the importance of vaccines.
Now, remember that RFK Jr. had his children vaccinated. But nevertheless, it's become we're talking about stuff like polio, smallpox.
Yes.
I mean, diseases that devastated communities not too many years ago. And it's been proven that there's 154 million lives that have been saved since just 1974, 95% of which were children, were infants.
I mean, Josh, you're the father of a young child, and medical professionals for the last 50 years. Actually, going back 200 years, we've had vaccines, but for the last 50 years, that's really been the norm. People didn't challenge the norm.
Well, I'll say that the challenge of the doctor thing has really been something that's happened over the last 10 or 12 years or so. Before that, you're right. I mean, my parents, would say to me, "I can't believe you're talking to the doctor like that and asking the doctor these questions." We never questioned the doctor. It was the doctor. But this is what I would say to people. I get it, man. When we took Andy in to get her vaccines and stuff, and they started poking her with those needles, it's a tough day. It is. It's a tough day, and you worry about what's going into your child's body, and you worry about what the effect might be because you've heard these things and these people talking and stuff. But what calmed me down and what led me to do this, and Steph too, my wife, is we read the actual sign. There's no reason to have faith. There's no reason to have faith and to guess and to be worried about it when you can go and see what is actually taking place. You can talk to doctors. You can ask them questions about this stuff. You can print the stuff out, take it with you, and talk to them about these things. And they'll tell you why these things are important, what they're actually going to do, how they attack or prevent the diseases. And it makes you feel a whole hell of a lot more comfortable to just know and stop relying on some Muppet on TV to say to you, "Oh, these are dangerous." I mean, no, man, come on.
Well, and then you've got the internet rabbit holes that everybody can go down and find all the false information that they'll ever need. We're going to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag, something has to stop it, and unfortunately it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it. This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. This past week, the Alabama Legislative Caucus, Republican Caucus, released their agenda, or their plan ahead of the session that will begin this coming week. And the Democrats did the same. They are dueling proposals for how to govern. We'll talk about the Republicans first. Basically, everything they talk about, they talk in terms of Alabama values. It looked like there's some good things in there. It looked like some things that were in there that were so vague, and it looked like there were things in there that would probably ultimately do harm. But Susan, what
Well, I mean, they use things like workforce participation, border security and immigration, election integrity, public safety and gun rights, and education and family support. All of those are rather broad subjects. I get the essence of what they're trying to get to here, but there's nothing very targeted. These are the same things we've been hearing over and over for every year, every session. So I'm interested to see what they've actually got in mind here.
Yeah, I mean, this was released by the Republican caucus. There were scant details in there. I think, it just sounds like talking points, and maybe that's what they wanted to get out there. I know they've got bills out there that will toughen immigration. I mean, I think that, we're going back to the old days of HB 56. But what we have now is a president who is in favor, and deportations are taking place even as we speak. That's going on. But the gun rights, I don't know how you could have more gun rights than you do in Alabama, because basically you can go buy a gun, you can carry a gun, and if somebody comes on your property, you can shoot them with the gun, leave them in the yard, whatever.
Concealed
Doesn't
carry,
matter. I mean,
permitless carry.
I don't know what else you can do. Now, the sheriffs and the police have said, please stop this nonsense of this constitutional carry without somebody knowing that you got a gun. I mean, but there you go, Josh.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the gun rights. I don't know. I mean, unless you're going to get one free with your grocery purchases, I don't know what the hell else there is to do with guns at this point in this state. I mean, you can carry them anywhere you want, concealed, not concealed, open, whatever. When we don't have the expanded background checks, we're not doing some of the basic things that we should be doing to ensure that, crazy people don't have guns. But this is and now we're wanting to expand this somehow. I don't really know. I think at some point you're right. We should listen to the police officers and folks out there that say, hey, this is making life worse for us and for a lot of citizens around the state. Let's reel this back in, because last I checked, I have yet to meet an anti-gun police officer or sheriff.
Yeah.
I've never met one in my entire life.
Yeah. Well, and when they talk about border security, what do they mean? Bordering with the
Mississippians coming over here, man. We got to get them the hell out of here.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. I mean, and the president has now renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. I mean, who's going to cross the Gulf of America to come mess with us? Don't do that. We just willy-nilly declared we're going to name Russia the 51st state the next thing you know. I don't know.
But, we've got all these people from Florida and Mississippi and Georgia and Tennessee coming in here. We can't have that.
They're
Hey. hey, there's nobody from Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee coming here.
I know that. That was the point. Why would
Mississippi, we might have an argument.
Yeah, well,
but,
thank God for Mississippi.
Maybe they're talking about getting rid of the sharks down in the Gulf of America. I don't know. That'd be helpful for a lot of people going on vacation.
But they are international citizens. Those sharks. It's hard to get rid of them. They and this is international water. Now if they come in 12 miles, I think we can do something.
I think we can do
right?
something about that.
But on a serious note, it's vague. It's very vague.
Very vague.
I think I don't know that the Democrats do much better on some of this where it's vague, but I do think they have a shift that almost seems more Republicans than what the Republicans have, or at least what it used to be, because one of their emphasis is on personal freedom and personal liberty. And Josh, that used to be the thing you heard from Republicans all the time, talk about personal freedom, personal liberty, economic opportunity, things like that. But now we're hearing the Democrats say that. And if we hear that, but we need more people talking about freedom and liberty than fewer.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a hell of a good plan that they've started with here. I think it's a good tactic. You've seen the Republican ideas of contracting freedom, whether it be what you can read, where who you can love, all this sort of stuff. And their idea of saying, hey, look, we're going to stay out of your bedroom. We're going to stay out of your doctor's office. We're going to protect those places. You can read whatever you want to read. And we're going to worry about things that matter. And if you look at the last couple of sessions here, it has been the Democrats that have put forth the most, I would say progressive, although not progressive in a traditional sense, but more business progressive ideas. The pro-growth business ideas have come from Democrats. I mean, Anthony Daniels put up the overtime tax, the child care tax credit that went to the businesses. Those things come from him and from the Democrats, and they have had great success, I think, in doing that. And I think they need to do a little better job of promoting it and reminding people that, hey, these are R&M ideas that people are now glomming onto. Both of those things passed the legislature with zero opposition. And I think that if you continue to expand those sorts of ideas and push those things forward, I think you're going to start to slowly attract a lot more voters that like that sort of idea.
Well, the Democrats seem to be actually doing the work, while the Republicans are just, expanding ideas to some degree.
Yeah.
They're floating out ideas of what they want to do, but the Democrats are actually going to work to find ways to help business.
Well, I think one of the things here, the Republicans know they are winning because of gerrymandering. They know that they don't have to do a lot of things.
They're lazy. Let's put it where it is. They're lazy. Let's be honest about it. They have. This is lazy governance on their behalf. They know they've got a supermajority. They know they don't have to worry about anything, and so they elect a bunch of idiots that don't do anything. And now this is what you come up with: are stupid ideas that don't advance freedom or advance anybody's opportunities in any way. Now, that's not all of them. There are certainly a lot of Republicans out there that work with Democrats to do these pro-business things, and I applaud them for doing so and for pushing these things forward. But there's a good chunk of them out there that are just damn lazy.
Well, I think Governor Kay Ivey is she's a reasonable person. Sometimes we don't like everything she does, but she's a reasonable person. I think that Speaker Ledbetter is a reasonable person, somebody that's going to try to do the right thing. And I'm hopeful that
don't forget President Pro Tem.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Oh. You want to do it? I was thinking that Garland Gudger's going to be the same way. I know he's a hardworking guy, so I do have hope. But this is a vague idea of what they might do. And as my old grandpappy used to say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. But we're going to leave it right there. You've been watching. No, you're still watching the V, I hope. We got one more segment. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Few issues in Alabama, in our political history here, have been more divisive than what Bob Riley started in 2008, and that was the bingo wars. After years and years of bingo being legal in Greene and Macon County due to a constitutional amendment where electronic bingo was legal according to the Constitution amendments that passed, Riley determined that they were not, Susan. And he set about raiding Victoryland and Green Track and other places. And then the Supreme Court of Alabama came up with this idiotic six-way test to determine that, bingo machine is not legal because you can only play it on a paper card in Alabama, and you can only use phones that are hooked to the wall and have rotary dials. It's about that idiotic. But, you know, Milton McGregor had built a $300 million entertainment casino, racetrack, all that. And Bob Riley had given him an award for the economic development that he had done in the state, and then turned around and what do you think?
Well, I actually know what happened there, but yeah, it's just the real turn of events there, just from like one year to the other, where he's the greatest thing since sliced bread to he's the demon on the earth that is ruining the state of Alabama. And then went about creating his own laws through the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You know, the six-point test, I think it is. It just boggles the mind.
You know, Josh, nobody knows this story better than you do, or Mr. McGregor has passed away, but his family keeps the business going down there. It is a shell of what it used to be because of what Bob Riley has done and successive attorneys general have done, keeping this alive, nothing more for than politics. But I think the McGregor family, I'm not speaking for them, but I think that Milton McGregor, they are following his pathway because they want to see justice, not just for Mr. McGregor, but for the entire Macon County. I think, and people in Greene are scared to death of what's going to happen, what's happening there. And this was legal until Bob Riley declared it illegal, and he couldn't do that. But he did.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's kind of like currently, if you have the Supreme Court on your side and you can make your own laws, then this is what happens. This is the downside of that. And, you know, I think what people really need to understand, and, you know, not accusing anybody of anything specific, but there's been so often in this gambling fight that has gone on here where some people have taken the interest from people outside of this state and placed it above the people inside the state. And that's the reason we're still in the predicament that we're in right now, is because that money and that influence that has come in from out-of-state sources has influenced the way people have voted and what we've been able to get passed here. And that's, you know, you said earlier that it's divided people. I don't really think it's divided people. I think most people are on board with passing a gambling. I think most people are fine with electronic bingo. I think they're fine with having casinos in this state, and they're fine with sports wagering, but certainly fine with an education lottery. You know, I think all of those things would pass with ease if you put them on the ballot. I mean, there's no doubt about this at this point. And you got people standing in your way because they don't have the best interests of this state at heart. No. And I think I've written about this, and you can go back and read it, and I think you will come to the same conclusion.
Well, and I don't believe for 1 minute that Alpha Insurance and Alabama Policy Institute don't have a vested interest somewhere in the background of people who don't want gaming because they want to keep it in their hands, the control in their hands, but can't prove it. But I certainly believe it.
Yeah, well, let's not forget, too, that Riley is also a lobbyist for the Mississippi Choctaw. Yeah. So that there's another wrinkle in it there. But if you really want to know how people think about it, let them vote on it.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing is voting on a bill that says it will be put on the ballot to be voted on.
Well, I think people need to understand the history is where I was coming from.
Of course.
This was legal in these counties, and then because of the power Riley had, he made it illegal, and because it was the political football that appealed to a certain segment of the base.
Yeah.
They were able to keep it alive.
I'll say this for people to understand it. It's no different than voting on alcohol, whether or not you have a wet or a dry county. You know, the Constitution of this state says everybody's going to be dry.
Yeah.
You know, there's not going to be any
Right.
alcohol sales.
Right.
And so, in order for you to have alcohol sales in your county or city where you live, they've had to go in and pass a constitutional amendment. Those people in Macon and Greene and a couple of other places went in and passed constitutional amendments specifically for the ability to play electronic bingo games. This was on the ballot. The people talked about it. They talked about what they were going to do with these things. This is what they were voting for: Vegas-style gambling coming to Macon County. And they voted overwhelmingly to approve this and have it there. And then the governor of the state said no.
But so for almost, for well over a decade and a half, this has been a fight that never should have taken place. So when people in Montgomery say, oh, well, these people like the McGregors or Nat Wynn over Green Tribe, they've been operating outside the law. No, it was the state that was operating outside the law.
You could not be more legal. You couldn't be more legal than what they are.
Yeah.
For the process that's in place, it doesn't become more legal than what they do. And not only that, they've jumped through all the ridiculous hoops that's been put in front of them. Now playing historical horse racing machines and this other crap that they've had to been forced to play because of the ridiculous laws that have usurped the laws that they passed legally through the required constitutional process.
And there's so many people in Montgomery now that have no knowledge of that history. I mean, we just need for people to be informed on what happened, but there seems to be no political will right now in leadership to do anything. And I understand Speaker Ledbetter's position, but somebody has to do it, or we're going to be 10 years down the road and still not have it.
Right, because you remember, the people have to vote on this, because just because the legislature passes it does not make it legal. It has to go on the ballot. It would go on the ballot next year when we vote for governor and our officers. Otherwise, we're looking at 2030. Oh, I can't believe that was, wow.
Well, it's because you have so many
Yeah.
instances of that the legislature doesn't act during certain times. But anyway, we've run out of time. Thank you for joining us today. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.